We've kind of talked the doom and gloom to up until now, but there are some bright spots out there. We do see focus on this, on these alternative sources. We do see a lot more attention going there. We see, we're hearing rumors out in the marketplace that the big bottlers that up to now have kind of discounted these sources and say we don't accept product from for instance, biogas sources, are starting to come around and think hard about that statement and start to open their minds to possibly figuring out how they can accept product, what it would take to accept product from these sources, and what would need to be put in place. So there's activity out there on the market side. People are becoming receptive. They're seeing the need, and they're starting to talk more about these as baselines of their CO2 supply. We've got a good customer base with biocarbonics in the UK that have already done that, and we work with them on a regular basis with audits, plant audits, to make sure that we're conducting ourselves and have the systems in place from a quality and a food safety perspective that they can rely on and that they can bank on. I just while I was in the US, I had some great meetings with industry colleagues where we talked about analytics and quality systems that need to be put in place for these sources, and how do we do the initial evaluations of these sources so that as we build the CO2 plant, we can have a plant that's fit for purpose, and we immediately have that food safety and quality system in place, and we can show the industry that it's viable and that it's safe. So those types of activities are being talked about and getting a lot more attention than they were a year ago. And just to kind of tag on to digitalization and what Matt was talking about, we had a great conversation about the need to start working on quality data and how do we make that more available to our customer base and make it more transparent so people can actually see what our sites are doing and how we're managing this and how we're monitoring this, so that it's not kind of behind the curtain and kind of in the shadows, that it's actually out there for them to monitor. So real eye-opening discussions this week in the US around that. I see in the US, I see a lot of more activity coming around these alternative sources like biogas and what they call RNG, renewable natural gas sources, and a lot more interest in that area. So it's not all doom and gloom. Unfortunately, lead times for equipment are issues right now, and so to get these sources set up and online, it takes a lot of time, and also it takes a lot of sources to replace some of these big sources. The Billingham source has a capacity to produce 250, maybe up to 300,000 tons of CO2 a year. That's a lot of these smaller alternative sources they bring online to be able to replace that capacity. So we need to get busy, but the bright spot is there are great people in the industry that are starting to focus on that. And we just need to get serious about it. We need to treat it like a business. This isn't a gold rush. Probably my biggest concern right now is the people that have raw CO2 out there all of a sudden hear us talking about this and they think it's a gold rush. They think they think they're producing gold, and so it's very difficult to find a business proposition that will award everybody in the supply chain fairly, so that we have a robust business and supply chain across all of pieces of the supply chain, so that we can get reasonably priced product to our end users. And that's my biggest concern right now, is that you get all the excitement going on around these CO2 shortages, and everybody thinks they've got gold, and it makes it even harder to develop these sources and build long-term, not supply chains for a year that serve a spot market that's up in the in the atmosphere, but to serve a market that's going to last for the next 20, 30 years from these sources.